Hey people, since this is World Suicide Prevention Month, I thought I would make another video about this. Since this is important and my life has been touched by this, I will explain later. I'm wondering how much of this suicide is based on the existential crisis. People wondering what the meaning and purpose to life is, and the secularization of our society. Now, one would think the secularization would make a death terrifying because it's the ultimate annihilation of the self. But from what I as a layman have been reading, it has had the opposite effect. More people are killing themselves, especially in the US. I know the World Health Organization said it has gone down in recent years, but the thing is as this is just layman, I believe that this phenomenon is underreported. Just an hypothesis. Now I'm wondering how much of the depression we have in our depression we have in our society is due to this. Like I said, we become more secular, and it's easy to believe your life has meaning and purpose when you believe there's a God batting for you. He has a good plan for you, and when you die, you go to some amazing place. So there's that. But we don't have those reassurances anymore. Like Friedrich Nietzsche said, God is dead, God is dead. We killed him. And you were speaking about the secularization of our society, sorry, and how nihilistic we've become. Jordan Peterson has talked about this. He saw this in his practice all the time. And there's a famous story on Big Think about a neurosurgeon or a cardiac surgeon in his 70s, just retired. He became very depressed because, well, he's going to die. And this philosopher asked his cardio surgeon friend, why are you depressed? You've saved so many lives. And then he says, but they're gonna die. So this guy's thinking about some sort of symbolic immortality or legacy. And I've even spoken on this on the thanatophobia subreddit. I don't know if I have it, but I do put videos there to help people deal with the fear of death. And one guy said, um, this doesn't help him because symbolic immortality isn't immortality in any meaningful way to him. I remember when I was in high school, I spoke to people about why they would study art because there's no career in art. And one guy he said, it's not about that. It's about leaving a legacy. Now I get this is an immortality project as seen in the denial of death. But you're not there to enjoy people looking at your paintings. Vincent van Gogh, I was at a Van Gogh exhibit for my birthday. It just happened to be there. I was there to watch Black Widow, and his exhibit was there. And my thought was, at least he has his art that survived him. But he's not here to enjoy us looking at his paintings. But this brings up another point. Not all of us, 99.9% of us, are going to have a legacy like Van Gogh, even if it's good. And I get why it would alleviate some of the fear of death and existential dread. Because as Dave Chappelle said when he was talking about the Chappelle show, he's losing the rights to it last year. But I think it applies here as well. You work your whole life for something and then have it come to nothing. So you can see why the idea of symbolic immortality is appealing to people living on in the memories of others. But it's still not you. Shelley Kagan talks about semi-immortality, but I don't really like him. I don't really like his philosophy and his work on death. Because one of his lectures, in his lecture series on death, is about this exact thing, the existential dread. So I'm just wondering, mental health professionals, if you guys can weigh in on this. how much of our mental health problems is due to an existential crisis. I say this because I have been having one for the past 3 years. I got ill. I'm wondering what the meaning and purpose to life is. This is getting personal now. This is just my own personal experience. Since then, I've developed depression because, hey, there might be no God or no afterlife. What's the point of doing anything anyway? Which is one of the crux of an existential crisis. I'm having some sort of the futility of doing anything. Like I said before with Dave Chappelle. In South Africa, Piet van Tonder, the CEO of Spur, who does Nando's as well there in the UK, you might have seen it, earlier this year shot himself 1 year after retirement. I bring this up because one of the secular things that gives life meaning is meaningful work. And when you retire, that meaningful work is obviously taken away from you. What do you do then? Because there's only so many crossword puzzles you can do, so many books you can read. That and your body starting to fall apart anyway. There's a whole thing about athletes when they retire becoming addicted to substances because their meaning, their identity is taken away from them. And there was an interesting article in the psychology book. It wasn't Psychology Today, I read this online. I forgot the name. They said one of the first things you tell people when you meet them is the job you do. So your identity as a worker is very important. And yeah, when that's taken away from you, you're left with, okay, and now what? Because think about it, how many times have you heard anybody tell you that they're a mother or a father or that they have a family? And stuff like that. They always start off with their work. In the US, I know that the suicide rate is highest among the middle-aged. The midlife crisis. Is it any wonder? And also, I find it strange that the suicide rate is highest among the age groups where the fear of death is the highest. The teenagers, early adults, and the middle-aged. You would think that the fear of death would stop them from killing themselves. It's like owning a spider but having arachnophobia. You get what I'm trying to say. But this is just a question I have and my 2 cents on the question. And how this relates to mental health. So any mental health professionals or anybody else who has something to say, please comment here. Because this might be one factor. This is multifaceted. Thank you.